What is up, guys? Falcon back again, and today I'm working on a 2003 PT Cruiser. This is a 2.4 liter engine, non-turbo, and what we're going to be doing today is doing spark plugs and replacing the valve cover gasket. So if you need to do spark plugs or a valve cover gasket on this 2.4 PT Cruiser, stay tuned. Alright, so for starters, we got to remove the airbox. It goes from right here to this side. The airbox usually goes here. You have a flathead clamp right here that you have to unscrew, and then you take it off. You have one connector right there, which is the air temperature sensor. Don't mind all this that I already moved around. That's because I'm also going to do something right there on the bottom, checking the evap canister. But basically what we're trying to do is get to the spark plugs, which are under the intake, and I'm going to remove this valve cover itself so I can replace the gasket on it. So it's under the intake, like I said, so we need to remove the intake. So to remove the intake, we have 5 bolts right here connecting the lower part of the intake to the upper part of the intake. Those right here, 1 2 3 4 5 right there. We need to remove this the throttle body lines. We need to remove those out of the way. We have a couple vacuums on the back that we got to remove. We have 2 connectors here, and usually back here, right there, you guys can see it, that's on the back of the intake right there. Usually right there you have one more screw holding the intake. But here, look, I can wiggle the intake, and that shouldn't be able to wiggle it, but somebody, I guess, did the spark plugs before and they never put that bolt back in there. So right now what I'm gonna do is remove this throttle lines right here. To remove them, you basically pull it up, and then you get this line through that little hole, and then same thing on the other side, pull it off. So I'm going to do that. Remove this line here, that connector, and then this vacuum line goes to the PCV valve right there. I'm going to remove it from here, and then I'll be right back. This vacuum line is out of the way, those lines are out of the way, this vacuum here is out of the way. One connector here, this connector goes down here to the throttle body. We have the map sensor right there disconnected also, and this vacuum line that goes, I think, to the brake booster. We're gonna remove it also. So now this is almost completely loose, so now I'm just gonna remove these 5 bolts here. Looks like they're 8mm bolts. I'm gonna remove those and move this out of the way, and I'll show you. Here it is, guys. I removed the intake, just those 5 bolts. Here it is to the side. We're gonna go ahead and replace these gaskets right here before we put it back on. That way we don't have any leaks in the future. And here are our spark plugs right here. So right here we're gonna replace these spark plug wires also. So we're just gonna pull this up straight up, and then we're gonna get the spark plugs out of there. But since I'm doing the valve cover as well, I need to take off this coil here. So I need to unplug. So I'm gonna unplug it from right here and undo it. I think these are 4 10mm bolts all the way around, and I'm gonna remove that coil out of there. Now with the coil out of the way, it was just those 4 10mm bolts. Also remember, when you take off the coil, the 2 coils in the back, the one on this side is gonna go over here to this side. I believe this is piston number 4, and the one in the back on this side is gonna go to number 1. So there is the coil. So pretend we have the 4 spark plugs here. You have the one in the back going to number 1, then that one goes to number 2, then this one goes to number 3, and this one goes to number 4. So then right here, if all you're doing today is replacing your spark plugs and wires, then you're just gonna have to use it. Just use a 5/8 spark plug socket right here. You put it in there, it goes in there, and then you unscrew your spark plugs. You take them out, you put the new ones in. Don't over tighten them. Make sure you put them as tight as whatever the ones you took off, and then replace your wires. See if you're gonna replace them. If not, then that's it. Then work your way back, put your intake back on. Make sure you replace those gaskets. But since I'm replacing the valve cover gasket, next step is to move this power steering fluid reservoir out of the way. The way you do that, it has 2 13mm bolts right there on the bottom. This is the bracket here, and the bracket bolts on right under the intake. Bolts on right under the valve cover. It kind of curves around and it goes down there. It's 2 13mm bolts. So this one usually goes there. You can get to the spark plug, but you can't take out the valve cover. So you need to feel them down there and remove those 2 13mm bolts. After you do that, you can move this one out of the way. So now that I already removed it out of the way, I already loosened up all 8mm bolts, and we have 9 8mm bolts like this one right here. all the way around. I already loosened all of them up. So here you are, it's completely loose now. So let me move it out of the way and show you the gasket. All right, so here it is. I removed the valve cover out of the way. So we're just gonna clean up this whole area and replace the valve cover gasket. And the spark plug well seals also, it all comes in the same kit. And we're gonna clean up all around here, wherever the gasket is gonna sit, to make sure it's clean. But here it is, that's the old one. It was already leaking, especially on this side, it was all dirty. So that's why we're replacing it. The part number that we're using today for the spark plug wires is this one right here. For the valve cover gasket, this is the part number that we're using. This is a Felpro valve cover gasket with spark plug wells. And this is the part number right here for the upper intake gasket. And this is the spark plug part number that we're going to be using for this vehicle. Alright guys, well that is it. That is pretty simple. Now after I clean up everything, put the gaskets back on, then I'm going to do everything in reverse order. Put my valve cover back on and put all my new spark plugs and everything else. I really hope this video helps somebody out. Don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell for me. I will catch you guys on my next video. Thank you for watching, and you guys have yourselves a great day.